Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Madhurima Sharma and today I'm going to talk about Western and Eastern perspective of communication. So in this video I'll talk about concept and meaning of communication, Sadharanikaran model of communication, Western model of communication and a comparative analysis of Western and Eastern model of communication or Western or Eastern perspective of communication. So I have already made videos on Western model of communication, basically the models and theories of communication. You can watch my previous videos. Okay, so let's start with what is communication. Communication is a basic function of human being. There's a different model and theories proposed to describe its different dimensions. Communication basically means exchange of information, ideas, or feeling from one person to another. The word communicate comes from Latin word communicare, which means to share or to make common. In other words, interaction, interchange, transaction, dialogue, sharing, communion are the attempt to define the term communication. So let's understand what is Sadharanikaran. So the term Sadharanikaran is derived from the Sanskrit word Sadharan. Sadharan, you have heard this term Sadharan, and has been translated into English as generalized presentation, simplification, and universalization. This concept is bound with another concept, Sahridita, that is the state of common orientation, commonality, or oneness. If you have studied a Western model of communication, there are so many models of communication. If you have studied, so the basic purpose of communication uh, to achieve the commonness means understanding, the common understanding or a mutual understanding between the receiver and the sender. So here also it is means this concept, according to Sadharanikaran, it is important to have sahridita or the commonality or oneness among the sender and receiver. So let's understand what is Sadharanikaran. It is attainment of sahridita by communicating parties. When sender and receiver accomplish the process of Sadharanikaran, they attain sahridita and become sahridayas. Okay, these two terms, sahridita and sahridayas. The person becomes sahriditas and they attain the person becomes sahridayas and they attain sahridita, that is the commonness or oneness. Thus the essence of Sadharanikaran is to achieve commonness or oneness among the people. So in this slide, the Latin word communis and its modern version, English version, communication, comes close to Sadharanikaran. They are more or less common, they are more or less similar. The term has been extensively used concept in Sanskrit and elite literary circle for explaining poetics, aesthetics, and drama. It is rooted in Natya Shastra of Bharata. Bhattanayaka introduced the concept of Sadharanikaran. He is credited for the use of this term in his commentary on Natya Shastra to explain the concept of Ras. This is very unique communication model, that is Sadharanikaran model of communication, and it was the first ever model of communication proposed from the East. All the models of communication are Western model. This is the one and only model from the East, or it reflects the perspective of East or Indian कह सकते हैं. So a point to note at this juncture is that SNC is not, that is Sadharanikaran model of communication, is not the only possible model of communication from Hindu perspective. Rather, there is a scope for the other communication model from Hindu perspective. But with the vast diversity of culture and philosophy within the Hindu society, it is just one of many models that could be developed. बहुत सारे हो सकते हैं मॉडल, बट दिस इज़ द मॉडल जो कि इंडियन कल्चर और इंडियन फिलोसॉफी को रिफ्लेक्ट कर सकता है. टिल द डेट साधारणीकरण मॉडल रिमेन्स ओनली वन ऑफ द सच मॉडल दैट कुड विजुअलाइज हिंदू पर्सपेक्टिव ऑन कम्युनिकेशन. सो अब समझने की कोशिश करते हैं व्हाट इज साधारणीकरण मॉडल ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन. आपको द कॉन्सेप्ट जो साधारणीकरण कॉन्सेप्ट है यू हैव ऑलरेडी अंडरस्टैंड. नाउ व्हाट इज साधारणीकरण मॉडल ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन, लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड दिस. It is proposed by Nirmala Mani Adhikari in 2003. The Sadharanikaran model illustrates how the communicating parties interact in a system. That is the process of Sadharanikaran. For the attainment Sahridita for the attainment of Sahridita, that is commonness or oneness. The model offers an explanation of how successful communication is possible in Hindu society, जहाँ की बहुत ही complex society है, complex hierarchies of caste, language, culture, religious practices are prevalent. So in this complex society, कैसे एक सक्सेसफुल कम्युनिकेशन पॉसिबल हो सकता है? इट एक्सप्लेन इट हाउ. सो दिस मॉडल comprises the following elements. Sorry for the pronunciation. So these are the elements. सहृदयास. अब सहृदयास में है सेंडर्स एंड रिसीवर. सेंडर को प्रेषक भी बोलते हैं और रिसीवर को प्रपाक भी बोलते हैं. देन भाव. भाव मीन्स मूड और इमोशन. देन अभियाजना, that is expression or encoding. Sandesh, message or information. Sarini, that is channel. Rasas vadana, that is firstly receiving, decoding and interpreting the message, and finally achieving the ras. Then dosas, that is noise. Sandarbha, that is context, and pratikya, the process of feedback. So Sahridita is a core concept upon which the meaning of Sadharanikaran resides. It is the state of common orientation according to this model. Okay, it is the state of common orientation, commonality or oneness. Sender and receiver become Sahridiyas with the completion of the process of Sadharanikaran. In a society that has asymmetrical relationship between communication party, it is only due to the Sahridita the two-way communication and mutual understanding is possible. जो इंडियन सोसाइटी है, जहाँ पे जो कि इतनी कॉम्प्लेक्स सोसाइटी है, असिमेट्रिकल रिलेशनशिप है, ओनली बिकॉज ऑफ द सहृदयता जो है टू वे कम्युनिकेशन इज पॉसिबल. Thus, communicating party can attain Sahridita irrespective of complex hierarchy of caste, language, culture, religious practices, and the communication process qualifies to be considered as Sadharanikaran. So, Sadharanikaran as a communication process consists of Sahridayas as a communicating party, which we have already discussed जब हम जहाँ पे साधारणीकरण concept को समझ रहे थे. Now we are studying the communication model, the Sadharanikaran communication model. Okay. Thus, Sadharanikaran is a process of attaining Sahridita, and Sadharanikaran model illustrates the process. तो जो साधारणीकरण जो प्रोसेस द कॉन्सेप्ट जो साधारणीकरण है इज अ प्रोसेस ऑफ अटेनिंग सहृदयता, एंड जो साधारणीकरण मॉडल है इट इलस्ट्रेट्स द प्रोसेस. दिस यू शुड अंडरस्टैंड द डिफरेंस. ओके, अब हम लोग वेस्टर्न मॉडल ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन को समझते हैं. क्या है वेस्टर्न मॉडल ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन? सो अकॉर्डिंग टू वेस्टर्न कम्युनिकेशन मॉडल्स और वेस्टर्न पर्सपेक्टिव के अकॉर्डिंग वेस्टर्न जो कम्युनिकेशन थ्योरीज हैं उसके अकॉर्डिंग द प्राइमरी गोल ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन इज टू इन्फ्लुएंस थ्रू परसुएशन. सो परसुएशन इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. ग्रीक फिलोसोफर एरिस्टोटल का जो रिटोरिक था, इट्स डेटिंग बैक टू 4th century, is a treatise on the art of persuasion and perhaps the first book that deals with the subject of communication. According to rhetoric, the communication is made up of 3 elements: the speaker, speech and listener. You can see यहाँ पे सिर्फ इम्पोर्टेंस क्या है, स्पीकर जो सोर्स है, स्पीच जो मैसेज है, एंड द लिसनर और द ऑडियंस जो आपके रिसीवर है. एंड द एम ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन इज द सर्च ऑफ ऑल पॉसिबल मीन्स ऑफ परसुएशन. यहाँ पे परसुएशन को इम्पोर्टेंस दिया जा रहा है. ठीक है. और जब आप ईस्टर्न कम्युनिकेशन मॉडल को देखते हैं, विच वी विल डिस्कस इन कंपैरेटिव एनालिसिस में हम लोग और अच्छे से समझ पाएंगे. सो वेस्टर्न मॉडल ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन में परसुएशन इज इम्पॉर्टेंट. ओके, ये चीज़ आपको समझना. और ईस्टर्न मॉडल ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन में कॉमननेस इज इम्पॉर्टेंट, सहृदयता इज इम्पॉर्टेंट. ओके, सो ये सारे जो हमारे मॉडल्स हैं कम्युनिकेशन के, जो हमने प्रीवियस वीडियो में ऑलरेडी वी हैव डिस्कस्ड. ओके, सो फर्स्ट इज हैरल्ड डी लास्वे मॉडल ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन. इसके अकॉर्डिंग क्या है, it states that convenient way to describe the act of communication is to answer the following question: who says what to whom, in which channel, to whom, with what effect. ठीक है, ये एक लीनियर प्रोसेस है. जो लास्ट वन मॉडल ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन प्रोसेस इज मैकेनिस्टिक एंड इफेक्ट अप्रोच टू कम्युनिकेशन. It sees communication performing three functions: surveillance of the environment, co-relationship of component of society, and cultural transmission between generations. These are the essential to understand the notion of transfer of information for intended effect. Okay. Then Berelson and Steiner के according, they see communication as an act or process of transformation of information, ideas, emotions, skills, etc. by the use of symbol, word, picture, figure, graphs, etc. Okay. तो ये सारे जो पर्सपेक्टिव है वो वेस्टर्न जो है पर्सपेक्टिव उसके अकॉर्डिंग है, ठीक है। जितने भी कम्युनिकेशन प्रोसेस है वो वेस्टर्न पर्सपेक्टिव के अकॉर्डिंग, इसलिए ऐसा है। अब नेक्स्ट जो हमारा मॉडल है चार्ल्स ऑस्गुड, it defined communication as we communicate whenever one, the system, the source influence one another, ठीक है, दूसरे को जो influence करते हैं। The destination by manipulation of alternative signal which can be transferred over the channel connecting them. Okay. Wilbur Stram defines communication as sharing of information, ideas, or attitude. He endorsed the idea that communication always requires three elements: source, message, and destination. He stressed on encoding and decoding and explained microphone for encoder and earphone for decoder. Wilbur Stram suggests that communication is circular in nature, where both sender and receiver are equal partner in exchange of ideas. तो किसी मॉडल में फीडबैक है, किसी मॉडल में फीडबैक नहीं है, किसी मॉडल में नॉइज है, कहीं नहीं है। सो अकॉर्डिंगली जो डेवलप होता गया तो जो नई नई एलिमेंट्स ऐड होते गए। ओके। फिर सैनन वीवर मॉडल के अकॉर्डिंग कम्युनिकेशन के 5 एसेंशियल पार्ट्स हैं प्लस नॉइज। फर्स्ट इज इंफॉर्मेशन सोर्स, ट्रांसमीटर, चैनल, रिसीवर एंड डेस्टिनेशन। ओके। डेविड बर्लो के एसएमसीआर मॉडल में क्या था? Berlo saw communication as a process and event, and relationship of this process as dynamic, ongoing, ever-changing and continuous. Okay. So SMCR जो 4 जो इसके elements है यही important है। He termed it as a bucket theory of communication. In this, the ideas are dumped from the source into a bucket, and receiver picks them up through such medium. According to him, buckets are newspaper, radio, television, internet. अब समझ रहे हो ना कि newspaper में सारे information and like a passive receiver you are consuming that information. Okay. According to David Barlow. Now comparative analysis, which is very important to understand how eastern and western perspective of communication are different. So the western जो theories of communication या western perspective of communication has been largely linear and a mechanical notion of communication as transmission of information from active source to passive receiver. The individual based model assumed that communication is an act, a static phenomenon privileging the source and not a dynamic process involving all elements of social relationship. Indian communication theories की अगर बात करते हैं तो they are more grounded in Hindu philosophical perception that is governed by law of dharma. The universal law of dharma regulates human existence and govern relations of the individual, which is important क्योंकि सर कितना वैसे ही अटेन हो सकता है, ठीक है। The Western theories of communications are confined to the study of surface structure, which features such as facial expression हो गए, verbal language, body language हो गए, non-verbal gestures हो गए, facial expression etc. Okay, whereas अगर हम लोग Indian communication theories या Indian perspective की बात करें तो it is deep structure feature that make critical difference to understand the Indian theories of communication or Indian perspective of communication. The deep structure is shaped by culture and metaphysical assumption. Western model of communication या जो theories है are reflective of Western thought and culture. The distinctive mark of this philosophy is categorization, classification, linear sequencing and rational logic. Logic पे depend करता है, ठीक है, linear है। Indian model of communication on the other hand is characteristically complex and plural. It is holistic and intuitive and believes that reality is one. Individualism and manipulation have no place in Indian communication tradition that is marked by एस्टिज्म एंड स्पिरिचुअलिज्म। मीन्स कि जब आप थोड़े इंट्यूटिव हो जाते हो, जब आप स्पिरिचुअलिज्म को फॉलो करते हैं, इट इज़ मतलब इंडियन ट्रेडिशन में अगर इंडियन कम्युनिकेशन थ्योरीज की बात करें तो यहाँ पे इस चीज़ों को इम्पोर्टेंस दिया जाता है, ठीक है। आई होप आपको ये वीडियो समझ में आया होगा, अच्छा लगा होगा। इफ़ यू रियली लाइक इट प्लीज़ लाइक कीजिए, सब्सक्राइब कीजिए मेरे चैनल को, एंड थैंक यू फॉर वॉचिंग.